Earlier this week, I found myself in the position of finding some wonderful little assortments of CDs on eBay. And one of them arrived yesterday, wrapped in a t-shirt, stuffed into a cardboard box. So inside that mound of fabric and cardboard turned out to be a bunch of Anglia Multimedia titles. So for anyone not familiar, they're an offshoot of were an offshoot of Anglia TV. Did a bunch of RISC multimedia CDs. On top of that, I've got a Topologica title, or in fact 2-on-1 CD, and some other little bits as well that I'm just going to briefly show you. So I'll start by firing up, there we go. Archives. So I'll fire up the Topologica one. I haven't had a great dig into this one, and some of them are a little bit twitchy on RISC PCs, and especially RISC-OS 4. I don't know if it's going to bring the sound through. So you get all the teacher's notes on how to use it. Yeah, like I said, it's a little bit twitchy on RPCMU. So I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe it's a RISC-OS 4 thing. So there's this one. Skip the instructions. It's obviously running way too fast. I get the feeling that's probably an ACE film. It's your sort of typical educational title from Topologica there. It gets a little bit more interesting now. A few of you might be aware that Anglia did mostly kind of encyclopedic titles, well, literally encyclopedias and subject-specific stuff. This one's a little bit interesting. So this one's got...
Hello, I'm Tony Robinson, and welcome to British Countrysides.
There
You're
you
about
go.
to discover some of Britain's most
hear
beautiful landscapes and properties, lovingly preserved by the National Trust.
Yeah, Aldrich.
You can watch documentaries about
So
the
you
Trust's
have
activities. You're in the documentary
a few little
section.
documentaries about the National Trust.
From a Roman villa to a house built in the 1950s,
narrated by Baldrick,
the National Trust
tickled me
cares
for
for an
reason.
amazing
this was
range
the one
of
I was
buildings.
looking at if you heard me earlier.
They vary from small cottages to huge houses to whole villages, as well as the places where people live.
So, as
Along
much as
with
I
the
like
buildings,
his voice, I am
the Trust looks after all. This section lets you... You now need to choose...
So
now select
as
which
you kind
property
of expect,
you want.
It's a list of National Trust properties here, there and everywhere. A little bit about what they do.
You're in
and
the
I get the
National
feeling
Trust
it's probably a little bit
the
of
Trust
a... It's a bit of a vanity title from them from around that time period.
Are you sure you...
I should have let that play. Oh well. So there's that one, which is interesting from the Tony Robinson angle. I'm be interested to hear if that's on his IMDb. But from another angle, from the Anglia front, is this one, which turns out to be a complete game written by Anglia Multimedia that you can play on the desktop. I'll kick it back to a desktop for a second. And then a separate, slightly more interesting multimedia title that goes with it.
There is very little undiscovered land left on planet Earth. But 500 years ago it was very different. Large parts of it were unexplored. Into this mysterious world, brave men set out to discover new civilizations. This disc is about some of those men.
Ah, we have a visitor. Welcome to Bristol. You've come at a good time. We set sail tomorrow, do we not?
That's right. Bound for Cathay.
Lots to do indeed. So
I haven't quite figured out how you play this.
Click on a shop door.
It's a click around
it's
kind
you.
of adventure, edutainment kind of title. I'll just quit that. And then from the other interesting angle is this Space Encyclopedia, which turns out to have come out in 1993. So this is quite an early multimedia title. So predominantly I think it's mostly text, and the interface is a little bit clunky. You just click through the various titles, search, and then you've got the pictures as well that it zooms through far too quickly. It's various, oops. There's apparently a movie there, but it's not going to play. Oh, okay. Again, Ace film playing way too fast on an emulated, 130 MIPS RISC PC. So this is probably something that will need running on one of the Archimedes emulators at a slower rate. I've put a lot of these on archive.org. The next one I'm going to show you isn't on there yet. But it's a slightly different thing, and this is to F12 to reset. This is a collection of, when it loads, of royalty-free music that was intended for multimedia presentations. Unfortunately, it's the CD emulation RPCMU doesn't really emulate the CD audio, but I tell it to use a different AR movie, it will play the replay format samples, and they're there sat in the Sonor sample format and also as voice modules. Little selection there. The topological one we've done. The last one, another early, so 1993, this one, despite it being called, what was the disc title again? Remind myself. Directions 2000, turns out to be an interactive guide to learning French. Okay, it's trying to load replay off the other CD.
La France est le pays le plus grand de l'Europe de l'Ouest.
So, background on this is I've sort of found myself a few weeks, or actually a few months ago now, in the possession of an exemplar demo folder. So it was a pack that was sent out to exemplar sales staff with demo CDs for a lot of applications, and a lot of the ACOM ones actually turned out to be full copies of the respective titles with the instructions and everything else. And that was quite a sizable collection of this sort of material. a lot of Anglia titles actually. That example I was distributing at the time. So I'll just stop the screen share now. So there's a little bit of I've built up something of a collection of these, and they're all on archive.org. So I'll just grab that and screen share the browser so you can see the page. So I'll put the link in the chat and on the Discord. There's quite a lot on here that's shared. So there's Eureka and some of the other titles down here where I think CJE was selling these at one point, the last couple of copies. There's a bit of the Shurston stuff there as well. Some of these aren't actually Archimedes titles, or they're Windows or Mac titles that actually need a support floppy disk to load them on a Acorn machine. Unfortunately, I don't have those floppy disks. They weren't included in the pack. There's quite a lot there to play around with, and then these are the more recent ones that I've added this evening. But you can download and have a play around with. When I figure out what there is on the when I figure out the easiest way to distribute the Grooves CD, the music demo, I'll pop that one on there as well. At the moment, what I've got is a data file and a cue sheet that goes with CDR-DAO. I'm currently trying to extract it into an ISO file and a bunch of audio tracks. So yeah, that was a little bit of a whistle-stop tour. Hopefully that was of interest. If anyone has got any Acorn kind of application software or this kind of stuff squirreled away, I would be interested in speaking to you and getting it archived. So feel free to drop me a note on Stardot or elsewhere if you see me about. So yeah, hopefully that was of interest.
That was interesting. Thanks, Phil.
Mm.
So what emulator were you using there?
That was RPCMU. I think that's actually the recompiler version, which might be why it was a bit snappy. Some applications have a bit of a problem with it.
Yeah, I've only very recently come back to RISC-OS. I used it at college in the 90s, and then I've been playing a little bit with RISC-OS Open on the Raspberry Pi. I don't know how compatible Open is.
With this sort of thing, I wouldn't expect it to be very compatible given the age of the software. It might run under Emulor if you're lucky. Roll of the dice, really. Try it and see. It'll certainly be able to pick up the CD drive, but if it's a USB CD drive, it might be difficult to get CD audio out of it.